Mr. Hankerson told me I needed some jokes, and I have to stand up and tell a lie straight-faced. but I can't do that. So what I'm going to do is welcome everybody, and guess what? I don't have the man of the hour is peeking at the back door right now. So Eddie,
tough crowd here. Tough crowd here.
So Eddie, I tried.
You're doing pretty good.
Nobody would laugh.
You're doing pretty good, Selvin. Selvin, that's a good warm-up for the future to come. I got to tell y'all, I almost had an accident. I was laughing so hard, I almost lost control driving home because the idea of having a heat stroke in front of the new coolant center. That was a bit much. And I just was watching the news yesterday, CBS News, and it was so hot in London, this man had fallen out, and the reporter asked him, was it because of the heat? And he said, well, you know, I'm 65 years old, I'm sure it was the heat. And I thought, 65? If I had been in London, I'd been in world trouble, a lot of trouble. But I'm doing good. My daughter insisted that I stay home. You know, sometimes your children think they are the parent. She is the doctor. You know, it didn't dawn on me until one day Jerry and I all three of us was on the phone, and Jerry and I was arguing about something. We don't, you know, usually argue. Because I put my foot down, I prevailed.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Sure you did.
And at one point in the argument, it got a little heated, and Jerry would say something, and I would challenge it, and I would say something, and she would argue. And at one point, Elisa said, both of y'all shut up. And we did. It dawned on me later, wait a minute. Let me call her up and get her straight, but then I thought, no, I better not do that. Yeah, but no, I'm good to go. I remember one time I almost had heat stroke in a football game. I'm glad y'all didn't laugh at that one. I never had the opportunity to have heat stroke. But I'm glad I couldn't stay home, although my daughter insisted, because Roger Valdez is here, and he hopped a plane to come here all the way. And yes.
Hey, how did you say this? But Selvin did. But I shared with he said it must be pretty hard having a stroke on the bench.
Yeah. That's, all those things concern me a lot, Colonel. But I said I wanted to be here because of the people who are here. Congressman Lawson, I want to say he caught a plane out of Washington to come here just for this, but he was already in town. But he told me, he said, Eddie, I got to be there. He said, I got to give a speech, and it's going to take me a while, but I will be there. You know, and Virgil would first said he may not be able to make it, called me up just the other day and said, Eddie, I will be there. So I wasn't going to let a little bit of sun stop me from, and my daughter stop me from coming back. I hope Virgil don't mind, I got to tell a little story about him. Yeah, it's not a funny story. I just want y'all to know a little bit about Virgil. He was a trainer under George, and he and George became best friends after Virgil went out into the world and became a success. Their friendship only grew through the years. And Virgil always remembered what George and Jake Gaither meant to him. He liked to say he had $90 in his pocket when he came to FAMU, period. And somehow he made it through 4 years, mainly because of the support he got from Coach Gaither and George. And Virgil went on to become an outstanding teacher, winning the Teacher of the Year awards. But then he was also an official. And he moved up from the high school officiate to college. And he was among the elite of the officials. He was the first black president of the Atlantic Coast Conference Officiating Association. That's a true rattler. I need a round of applause for that.
Raise your hand. Virgil, raise your hand so everybody will know who you are.
But here's the thing I really like. Virgil officiated 2 Rose Bowl games. And in one of those games, he flew George to the Rose Bowl game. We got pictures of them together in California. I think he wanted George to see what George's good work had done. And so I knew he would be here if he could. And I didn't mean to put him on the spot like this, but every time I called Virgil, I said, Virgil, we trying to raise some money for this. And he'd say, oh, give me your address. You know? Sometimes I show up at the house and go through the mail, there's an envelope from Virgil Valdez. I hope y'all get this.
The fun.
Some rattlers talk a good game, others live it. But, well, enough of that, Virgil. I hope you forgive me for putting you on the spot. But ladies and gentlemen, Virgil Valdez is one of FAMU's most distinguished graduates.
Good afternoon, 220 Quarterback Club members and guests. It is a privilege to be here with you. I would like to share a few brief words with you about a FAMU icon. I commend you for honoring George Godfather Thompson. Essentially, this is a well-deserved honor for a living legend. My story as a student trainer is just one of many. He provided guidance for many football players during those decades that he was the trainer. And it was not just about football, it was about life. They went to George with their problems and their issues. He always gave them sage advice. Even today, as men with families, they still seek his counsel. On a personal note, I call Godfather every day. When I came to FAMU, my life didn't have any direction. He gave me a job as a student trainer and eventually provided me with a full scholarship. He instilled in me the merits of completing a task and being responsible. He was also a father figure to me and many players as well. He turned my life around with his mentoring and his friendship. He gave my life a purpose. I will forever be indebted to him. Thank you, Godfather. I love you.
had planned something special for George, and I met with Mike Smith, our athletic director. The university didn't get around to doing something that it had planned to do, and Mike has promised me that he's going to make it happen, George. And that is George played a decisive role, critical role in the raising of funds for all those lockers you see in the field house. And so we're going to recognize George in the field house. Mike is planning it right now. He'd be here today, but they've got to go to Birmingham for the what's the name of the conference? Swag. I tell you, man, y'all fooled by my youthful good looks. Yeah, I'm the oldest man in the room. Oh, I'm sorry, George. George, I say all the time that you and I are the only two people left who was on Coach Gaither's staff. And I say it a lot because I'm proud of it. But there's another gentleman here who pretty prominent in this area. I think most of you heard of him. He is now a United States Congressman. And you know what I like about this I've never had a United States Congressman I could get on the phone and call and get him almost every time. I dial his number, hey, Eddie, what's up? You know, I tell Jerry sometimes, if you ever need something from me, let me know. But all of you know just how great a person, Al Austin is. I mean, the more you get to know him, the more you like him. Because ever since I've known him, he's always been doing something for Florida A&M University. He and I had something in common. We both played basketball.
Yeah, right.
Because he got a crowd with the NBA though, and the difference between us is if I got in the crowd, I'd still be playing. Before I go too far, ladies and gentlemen, United States Congressman, Mr. Al Austin.
Thank you, Eddie. Thanks to the 220 Club. I'm delighted to be here. As you know, we were in committee meetings today. And when Eddie told me about what they was doing to honor George, and Virgil would be here, I flew in to Midway earlier, and we had a time landing because of the weather. We don't have a runway there. You got to land on the street. So I could make it over here. But I didn't want to miss it because I met George 56 years ago. 56 years ago. And I can remember that I was riding with him and Jay Gaither, and we were going to the Northwood Mall. And George wanted me to sit in the front. I guess he was used to what happened. And so I was in the front with Jake in that brown Continental, whatever it was. And I was really stirred because it didn't bother George, but he was rubbing paint with everybody on the side of him. And so I said, God dog, I just got real nervous, because he was rubbing paint with everybody, and he kept going. So we got stopped right after we crossed Georgia Street, and he said, what can I do with your officer? He said, you're going down a one-way. He said, yeah, but I'm not going but one way.
That's one way.
I saw Pratt coming up here, all the way up here to for this activity. in high school, I never had a trainer. You know, our coach that George did a lot with too, really, you know, he did all the taping, everything that we had to do. There was no trainer. So I was really surprised when I met George, and then George told me all of the things that he could do for me and all of this other stuff. And so I was a frequent visitor to the trainer's room. And so until I went out for football, and George said, "You're in the wrong sport." You know? And so I had a long season with George because even after I left basketball, you know, I was on the track team. Most people didn't realize that, and that's the reason why I knew a lot of the football players, because we all traveled on the same bus everywhere that I was been. I can remember being up in Atlanta, and one of the divers on the football team was Tunk. And Tunk was a guy that looked like, Tommy, you might be like he was carved out of Atlas. So when we'd go to Morehouse to watch the swimmers, Tunk would walk up on the high diving board, and all of the girls from Spelman and Clark and all of them, they would say, "Oh, wow, just look at him." And Tunk would go up in there and get on his toes and turn around on the diving board. They said, "Whoa, boy, look at that physical specimen up there." And the judges used to have to tell Tunk, say, "Hey, you need to dive." I said, "You need to dive. It's time to come off the board." You know? So Tunk, not being a very good diver, Bert, you remember Tunk out of Jacksonville? Tunk would just fall off the diving board and hit the water. One of the girls from Spelman said, "He can't dive, but he sure look good." You know? But I wanted to be here because George has been a part of my life all the way, training and everything else, helping me in track and everything. So I remember the last time George called me in when I was getting ready to leave in 1970, and he said, "Al, I just want to tell you that you're probably one of the best athletes in all sports to come through FAMU." So I was really amazed. He said that include Bob Hayes, Gallimore, wow, all Walt Bellman, everybody named the best thing. And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I got something I want you to take with you. You know, the ones that I made you wear every day in practice." And I kept it all these years. And this part,
Oh, goodness.
he said, "You were the best athlete after 224. Can you imagine that these are the stars that George, when I was leaving, and I kept them all this year, I kept them all this year to remember what George gave me. He said, "You need to carry this with you and remember how you got them. You finally earned them." But he said, "Don't have no disillusion. You're the 224.
Short.
So, I couldn't realize Dr. Walker, we wore him that short, you know.
Can't wear them today.
That's right. And he would take them up out there with practice, have them wash, and give me the same short. Doing it better than that. But anyway, I told Eddie that I was not going to miss it because George was such a big part, not only my life, but just about every athlete, you know, to come through there and give us advice. Sometimes the advice was better than the coaches.
Yeah.
You know, and tell you what you need to do and what you need to work on. And so I've been a part of him. His son worked for me, and one other thing I'm gonna say, because I brought this along because I think you all need to know it. George already know about it. When you all drive past the village, and when y'all look at the new dormitories that was built, we brought down $120 million to retire the debt. There's no debt on those facilities. So that means that FAMU gets all the money that's coming in. We gave them $98 million. You remember when the president said that he was giving retiring the student loans? He took $16 million and retired their loan. That's all came down what we worked on there with HBCUs. The $4,000 that he given the students to help find houses, that's one of the things that we gave them under the CARES Act. But last week, one thing we did really good for them, normally you have to return all the money you don't use. But we gave them the money that they have, the millions that they have, they can use it for infrastructure and other projects. You know, who would ever thought that if George gave me these shawls, that I'll be in Washington, D.C. to bring some more glory down the family. Thank you very much. Might not still 224, but I was the best overall, like you said.
Tommy told me he had a good story. Where's Tommy? You told me you had a good story about George. He said just one story.
Now, you asked me to tell the story.
But it really was a good story. My senior year, our budget was so bad, we didn't get nothing. We didn't get no balls, no jackets. But when my basketball career was over and I worked in New York for a while, and I came back, I told George that. He said, "Come on, go with me." And he gave me my first leather jacket. So some of you see one similar to one I wear now. That's the one that George gave me. And Al, I've been knowing him 66 years. Yeah, I came here in 1956. It was my freshman year. And among my best friends was Mahoney McKinney, Butch Clark, and what's the other? Curry. Those were the three famous trainers. And so I'm really an example, one of the few Tallahassee kids that didn't want to go nowhere else but FAMU because of these kind of guys. And I knew these guys. And when I was in Europe, I ran into Mahoney. We were in Germany, and there was Mahoney. And so the trainers, which George trained all of them, they were really great guys. And so the reason why he's called a Godfather, you heard Valdez tell you that, because whatever you needed, you can go to George, and you would get that. And so I know I'm grateful. And not only that, when I became a director of Alumni Affairs, George is one of my biggest supporters. Of course, Valdez recently has been giving me a lot of money, so you know I love him too. But anyway, I just want to let everybody know that this is one of the greatest guys that ever hit this campus. But that was what FAMU was about. Fortunately, when I was with the Globetrotters, it was in Chicago, so Gallimore and I used to hang out all the time. Audrey Gallimore was my classmate, so FAMU just has been a great place. And one of the things I say about it, and I'll be through, is that this is my home, so it shouldn't be that great. But I'm just really impressed with FAMU. You can't get no better than this. And one of the things that me and Vaughn was talking about, y'all need to know, other folks respect us more than we do. We kind of hard on FAMU, you know. But listen, I'm glad I didn't go nowhere else, and all three of my children, and 5 of my grandchildren. All right. You know, so that's I'm grateful to George and what FAMU has done for me.
You know, I always like to remind Tommy that his basketball greatness would never have happened if Carl Levins from Jones High School in Orlando, Florida.
I'm glad Carl
one of the reasons George gives so much, not one of the reasons he gives so much, but one of the reasons he gets so much back from people is because of what George meant to them. And I know George has always meant something very special to Doc Pratt. And I'm going to ask Purcell Pratt now to come up and say a few words.
I didn't, hold on. No, I don't have a speech. But good afternoon, everybody. Miss Hagan told me never to share our business. And I really don't feel comfortable telling you about it. And that's one thing she always told me, say, "Doc, they don't have to know." But I don't know if it's roasting or what have you, but this man, very instrumental in my life, and I And I thank God and I thank my parents. But I lost my father when I was in the 10th grade, and I was the third sibling, oldest, and it was 5 behind me. And I chose not to go to Penn State and University of Florida. And I said I want to be a rattler. Robert Reed is the rattler, but he was a Miami native, but he was my junior senior instructor in science. He said, you want to go to FAMU? I said, yes, sir. He said, I'm going to call Jake. I said, Mr. Reed, you don't even know Coach Gate up here. He said, buddy, when you get down, and all the people in the classroom looking at it, you get down, you hit that sucker, and you just bring him right out of there. So we looking. Man, what are you talking about? And I got the FAMU. I called him on the phone. I said, I know you was telling the truth. So I came to FAMU because I wanted to come to FAMU. And if I had to do it all over again, I'm coming to FAMU. Now, this young man met me when I was 18. I'm 67 now. And a brother, a friend, a father, and a rattler. He probably kept me from losing it because I'm an athlete and I'm a fighter. You want to throw hands, I'll throw hands. You want to work, I'll work. You want to learn, teach me. He put it in my heart and my mind, you here for one thing. That's to educate yourself. They're not going to give it to you. You got to earn it. Now, you're going to walk around here, don't let me have to say this again to you, because you won't be here. And I understood that. And even today, leadership through him. He never had to ask me twice about what is needed to be done, because I was going to get it done. Might not be the best way, but it was going to be done. So he had a thing, if I got to work, why are you here? Well, I'm telling him today, if I got to work, why are you here? Now, I'll tell you, this is my pops, my friend, but he threw me under the bus one time. And I'm gonna tell you, we up there in Tennessee, and there's one thing you can't do is hold that airplane up. Coach took them, and I think Mr. Bruton, they must have stopped by the club or somewhere. So everybody looking around, well, they're not here. I said, it costs them money. Coach Hubbard looked at me, what are you gonna do? I said, I ain't what I'm gonna do. I got to wait. You know, you're gonna leave Coach Took. Coach Gates said, come here, baby. Did we just beat these suckers? I said, yes, sir. Let's go to town. I said, ma'am, close the door. We get back in Tallahassee. Who left me? George said, you need to talk to Doc.
Ron Wilson knows George as well as anyone, and I'm asking Vaughn to come up at this time.
Talk about throwing under the bus, Doc. No, Godfather, I met him, I was a youngster, and my mom and Miss Alice were great friends, so we would always be over to their house. And I think Tawana was like my first crush, the older sister, but Godfather always took care of me and my brother at FAMU High. You know, we didn't have much money down there with Johnny Williams. But every year for football season, Van and Vaughn Wilson would have the latest in pads and the latest in cleats, and nobody figured it out. That as soon as the shipment came in for the university, Godfather called us and said, come get your stuff. So that's why my brother and I always had cleats and we always had arm pads. But it goes deeper than that because I had a pretty successful career at FAMU punting. And Godfather called me to the field house one day, saw me out there practicing, you know, from a pro tryout, and he threw me a bag. And I opened the bag and it was 10 or 12 NFL footballs because I was practicing with college footballs. He said, you're gonna need these. So that's the kind of person he is, what he means to me in my heart. And you know, the tryouts didn't go quite as well as I wanted. I came back. I saw Godfather, he said, baby, they didn't want too many blacks up there anyway. So I thank you for that encouragement, Godfather.
Before I ask George if he wants to say a few words, Selvin, you want to make a comment or two? President of the FAMU Boosters, Selvin Carr.
Godfather, you don't know this, but my mentor in high school was Robert J. Taylor. Now, you all probably never heard that name before, Robert J. Taylor. Coach Taylor came to FAMU, was from Melbourne, Florida. When Coach Taylor became a trainer for Jake Gaither, well, now this is what Jake told me. He knew that George was down there in Melbourne and wanted to come to FAMU and needed something to do and needed a job. So he brought the Godfather to FAMU. Now, Godfather, I don't know if that story is true, but that's the story that Coach Taylor told me years ago. So that's my connection to the Godfather. So as far as booster news, let me tell you all that we made a decision. I said we, the board of the Rattler Boosters and the fundraising group, that we would not have a live volleyball, football kickoff on August the 20th. I know I've made some announcements here and what the table costs and everything, but due to the COVID-19 and the variants that's out there, we do not want to put our football team, our volleyball team, our coaches, and most of all, us, the Rattler Boosters, in harm's way. So what we're going to do, and you'll be hearing from us at a later date, we will have a virtual campaign this year. You will still get a chance to meet the volleyball team and the volleyball coaching staff, the football team and the football coaching staff. We're going to have some footage of the band when they're in Paris, France. We're going to have the cheerleaders. So we're going to put together about an hour and a half programming for you. So stay tuned. We'll give you details later on. Eddie, are you going to bring Paul up? Boudreaux? No? Okay. I'll Paul, as you know, Coach Simmons is on his way to Birmingham to the SWAC Media Day, which, by the way, is going to be on ESPN Plus live starting tomorrow.
Coach Simmons decided that Paul needed a FAMU shirt. I guess he got tired of looking at that dude on the same shirt.
Oh my God.
Ain't been that much white in this
Jesus Christ. He's in trouble.
There you go. Okay.
It fits.
Just weigh 400 pounds. It sure did.
Okay. Well, Paul, you have to be careful what you ask for.
I'm telling you.
Because I just saw this envelope in Eddie's hand, so Eddie.
Yeah, hold on just a second, Paul. George, you feel like saying a few words? Pardon? Feel like saying a few words? I don't mind. No. You just sit down. Sit down, George. Just sit down. George, before you do that, let's have a big round of applause.
Number Harvard.
I appreciate all of that today and every day. I appreciate that. All the young men, young women, and things that I met when I came here. But I've always been able to take care of myself and to have other people around. That's what I had to do. Do what now? Oh, we hear me now. Okay. It's to help other people. If I go to sleep and I think I've done something well for somebody else during the day, that's when I really sleep. If I go to bed and I didn't do something I feel that I should have done for somebody else, I don't sleep well. And people see me today and ask, how did you sleep last night? I said, well, what do you think about now to my dogs? They said, the rest of the people there. They said, how old are you? I said, well, I'm old enough to get around by myself. I can't walk too good today because my hip hurt me a little bit, but then I'm going to get around anyway. He said, who's with you? I said, God is with me at all times. And that's the way it is with people. I love all the people in the world, I really do. And I don't want to do anything to harm anybody. And I pray that every night when I go to sleep, I'll be able to do something for somebody if they need it, and I can help them. And I hope that they'll never have to help me. But if they do, and they do it with the Spirit of God, I feel knowing how I feel about God. I'm a blessed man. Thank you all for everyone. Thank
Thank you, George. Another reason we are here today, of course, is because of that big 40-foot cooling machine where I almost had a heat stroke at today. Yeah, the damage had already been done, Paul, by the time you open the doors. But, gentlemen, I'm holding your contributions in my hand. And this is a check for $15,000 made out to the Boudreaux Athletics. And Paul came up with this great idea some years ago, and now everybody wants to get in on it. And because of you, Florida A&M University is in on it as well. And believe me, I don't know if Coach Simmons would say it at some point, but he is so happy about that cooling stuff, he doesn't know what to do with it. He can't wait for the players to arrive this weekend and see what it's like. Now we're not through with it. I know it looks like a railroad boxcar. We're gonna put a logo, the family logo on the side. We're gonna dress it up a little bit. We're gonna put 40 chairs inside. And I think it's going to play a key role in the football player's life this year. So with that, and with your money in hand, Paul Boudreaux, if you would come back up again. I don't have another T-shirt.
Gladly.
From these people to you.
Thank you. Thank all of you. I told y'all, if I can bother y'all for a second, when we were here in the spring, I told y'all I wanted to come back. I didn't realize, of course, I did the planning to where I knew y'all would have the luncheon going on, because that was the most important. Look at me, you know, I'm hungry, I'm starving over here, you know. But I appreciate it. And listen, just to let you know, when I guess the video went out from the last meeting I was here, it wasn't 24 hours. We were in West Palm for the NFL meetings, and I get a phone call at 10 o'clock at night from Montgomery, Alabama. I'm like, who in the hell is calling me on Friday night from Montgomery, Alabama? This is Miss Such and Such with Alabama State. I said, yes, ma'am. What's this deal FAMU got going on? And I said, well, what do you mean? Man, it's all over the, don't you get on the HBCU news? I said, no, ma'am, I've never been on it in my life. But I just met with him. Well, honey, they're broadcasting that thing all over the TV right now. And so I said, wow. And I said, well, if you would be interested in one, I'll come to Montgomery. Well, I'll get back to you. Then Alcone was the next one. They are 90 miles north of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It's been all over the TV. Hey, what's this box FAMU's talking about? And I said, and then Grambling called. George Stubbs, the equipment man. Boudreaux, what's that cooling box? I said, well, George, you've seen it. Well, Coach Jackson want to know how much that's going to cost us. And I said, well, because he's such good friends to me, it's $20,000. And he said, yeah, man, that man from Jackson, from FAMU said he paid $15,000. You going to charge me $20,000? I said, that's because you waited so long to get this thing. It's called interest, George. And of course, I never heard from Southern, and they are 4 miles from us. And then the last one I got, some lady, I said, Jackson, Mississippi. I said, uh-oh, Mr. Primetime's calling. I said, yeah, you're getting ready to unanswer Primetime. But it was a lady. I had no idea who she was. She said she worked for Premier Events, and she said, yes, sir. I saw on the HBCU News the cold boxes you got at FAMU. I said, yes, ma'am. Well, we'd like to get one and surprise Coach Prime with one. And I said, oh, it's going to be a surprise. She said, well, can we get it for 3 weeks? And I said, you can get it for 3 weeks, but you're going to pay for 2 months like everybody else. Oh, okay, so it's 2 months. I said, well, yeah, July and August. And she said, well, how much would that be? And I said, well, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. $18,500. She went, oh, man, get the hell out of here. We ain't got that car. I said, we'll go ask Prime to cut a check. He can cut it. If he give up half his salary, he can make a ride for this. You know. So anyway, it's just the publicity and the generosity of y'all. And at the end of the day, the safety for the players is why it's all here. And in the last 2 mornings,
I live in the swamp in Louisiana, and I swear, y'all are hot as hell. I don't understand it. Somebody said, well, Bruno, you're in Florida. I said, we ain't nowhere close to the coast. I mean, I ain't in Destin, and I ain't in Mexico Beach or anywhere like that. Boy, it's been brutal. Look poor-headed today. You didn't hydrate. You didn't drink enough water this morning or last night. But anyway, folks, it's been a pleasure. We've had a blast. Please have me come back. I love it. You don't even have to give me a t-shirt this time. But, it's been fun. Hope y'all enjoy it. I know the players here. Thank you. Oh, distinguished Congressman. Nice to meet you. It is my honor. You're a good man, Eddie. Hey, that banner's at your house, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know where else to ship it, so I dumped it on. Well, I may have to come by there. It weighs 80 pounds.
Okay.
Your age.
I'll take 80. Leela, I almost forgot, but I'm back on track now. Coach Simmons, of course, is in Alabama, but I think Coach Rowe came in. Oh, I've been looking right at him. Coach, because I'm looking at you don't mean I see you. Okay, you good? Okay.
No, he isn't.
Appreciate everybody.
No, he isn't.
For the school box.
Okay.
It's gonna be a great addition to the program. And the kids been asking about it for weeks now.
Uh-huh.
So they didn't even know, with it sitting out there now, they didn't even know that was it. They thought somebody was moving. So it's gonna be a nice surprise.
Okay.
And on behalf of Coach Simmons and the staff, we appreciate it.
All right. Anybody have any thing? Yes. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, it'll go up. That's like you keep it going like that. Once they get 40 people in there, it'll hold at around 36, 38 degrees. We don't want to freeze them.
That's the purpose.
Yeah, don't worry.
Put the helmet on.
You'll feel it later.
A couple of things. Are there anyone here, or do you know anyone plan to want to go to North Carolina? They're looking at putting a bus together. So if any of you are interested, please let me know. The other thing is, I'm talking with the Duval County as well. They're not planning a bus for North Carolina, but they are planning a bus some other trips. So for those of you, and I also have a copy of all of the host hotels for their away games. I'm sorry I ran out, so I can get it for you if you need it. Secondly, we have a suite for the Orange Blossom Classic game, and two of our members got sick, and they're not going to be able to go. So there are 2 spaces if anybody wants to go. I think that's it. Oh, we plan to have a bus for the Orange Blossom Classic as well.
Anybody else? Comment, Joe? No more comments? Thank you. Yes.
I just want to say, I met George back in '75 through a mutual friend of mine. And he's been my true godfather. But I'm going to tell you about the name Godfather. When I would have problems with people or whenever, when I would come back and forth to Tallahassee, he said, baby girl, you all right? I said, no, somebody bothered me. He said, well, let me know, because I got a river I can put them in.
Okay, folks, we'll be back to normal next week. I think I'm going to see if Coach Simmons is available to talk about SWAC Media Day and the reaction he's gotten from some of the players after they've arrived. Oh, that Dr. Foster, not Dr. Foster, Pat. Anthony, any comments?
I'd just like to say that the band camp, I understand that Dr. Chipman spoke to the group but the band camp was very successful. We had 600 students there. We had no incidents of any problems there, which was great for the university, and to set an example that we have the best band staff, we have the best students, and we had a very good 7 days here in Tallahassee, and we look forward to having the band camp success next year and future years to come. But this was the largest HBCU band camp ever with 600 students. And we had them from San Antonio, Texas, Washington, New York, Philadelphia, all over the country. So FAMU is on the map, FAMU is back, and we're so proud that we've been able to get the program, the success that we're having now. So, and it's always a pleasure when I'm in Tallahassee to come to the quarterback club and listen to Eddie Jackson's jokes. Sometimes I take them back and I tell my students those jokes as if they were original, because nobody can come and say I plagiarized. So Eddie, thanks a million, and of course Al Lawson, it's always a pleasure to see you, former neighbor of mine on Tanner Drive, and of course Godfather George. It is a pleasure always. We go way back also with mutual friends that play football at FAMU, and it's just a pleasure that he's been honored, because there are very few icons and institutions left at this university. And to have George to come in and so eloquently speak is really a pleasure, and I'm happy that I was able to experience it here today, so thank you very much.
And Tony, your father told me, because I used to be all the time, that I was the best drum major he had ever had.
Well, you know, his memory got to be a little bad lately.
Tony, I want to thank you for your support too. Tony just didn't come to enjoy the luncheon. I know he made some significant contributions to our program. And if that's all we have, we'll see everyone next week, same time, same place.
Are you gonna be here this weekend? No.
Get that name.